Yay! Thanks so much for joining us and welcome to the Sisters in Law event. My name is Efe Mena and I'm the president of UTM Black Future Lawyers.
And my name is Kishi Femi Johnson and I am the vice president of UTM Black Future Lawyers.
And we'll be your MCs today. Round of applause. All right, so welcome to this event. This event is brought to you and hosted by the Black Future Lawyers Club at UTM, the Women in Law Association, the Pre-Law Organization, and the Political Science and Law Association. This event was also made possible by the UTM Alumni Office and the Pillar Sponsorship. Please give a round of applause for our collaborators and our sponsorship.
At today's event, we hope to celebrate the resilience, brilliance, and impact of women in the legal field. And it's an opportunity for all of you to connect with these incredible panelists before us who are here to share their insightful experiences and very rich knowledge.
But before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge the land that we have the privilege of holding this event on. We wish to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to the many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land.
Now, we would like to briefly invite our partnering clubs to introduce themselves and say a few words about their organizations. A round of applause as they come up, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Melkowski, and I'm with the Women in Law Association. So we're a club that aims to empower and encourage women in the legal system, and we're so happy to be taking part in this collaboration tonight.
Hi, my name is Layla. I'm the VP of events at the UTM Pre-Law Organization, and we host events like networking, and we host murder mystery events too. And we hope that you enjoy the event today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for showing up tonight. My name is Ahmed. I'm on behalf of PSLA. So we're a club that works directly with the political science department to host events regarding policy debates and get students involved with just politics and whatever career ventures they want to see forth from it. Thank you all for attending.
Yes, thank you all so much for attending. You have some fun clubs to join next year. You go ahead, Evan.
Thank you. And sorry, I also wanted to thank Philip and the UTMSU for putting this together and giving us this space. Thank you so much, Philip. Round of applause. Wonderful. So to move swiftly along, we'd like to welcome Claire Smith-Victor, who is an incredible career counselor at the UTM Career Center, and she will serve as our moderator for the panel discussion. Please welcome Claire.
All right. Welcome, panelists. I've had the opportunity to speak to some of you, and I am looking forward to the interesting things you have to share. But for now, I think I'd like to start on my direct right. Could you introduce yourself and just say a little bit about you?
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So my name is Shavada Chopra. I'm an associate lawyer at Stephen Durbin and Associates. It's a family law firm. I articled with the firm, stayed on as an associate. I went to law school at Osgood Hall and graduated from there in 2021. And before that, in undergrad, I went to Carleton University, so long ways away from here in Ottawa. And I did pre-law in undergrad. So that's a little bit about me.
My alma mater. I went to Oz as well. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Karen Cunningham. I'm senior counsel and managing lawyer at Cunningham Law Professional Corporation. This is a corporation that's been in practice for almost 30 years. We're located in central Mississauga, very close to Square One, if you're familiar with that area. We practice primarily family law, wills and estate administration and litigation, civil litigation as a whole, employment law, and corporate commercial law. As senior counsel, when I started out almost 30 years ago, I didn't have the privilege of saying I'm going to specialize in one area or two. I just took anything that came through the door. And that served me well over the years. So I have a well-rounded knowledge of various areas of law that intersect with one another. Whether it's family law and you're going through a divorce and you have a family business or corporation that needs to be dissolved, my knowledge of family law and corporate goes together. Whether you need to have a will or manage an estate, my knowledge of wills and estate. Whether you're firing your spouse and the spouse needs to sue you for wrongful dismissal or constructive dismissal, my knowledge of employment law comes in well. But being a general practitioner is not for everyone. You have to have the skills and the abilities to do it. I really admire the younger lawyers today who have the privilege of specializing. And at the firm, we have some lawyers who specialize generally in two areas because family law is so predominant, whether it's family law and employment, or family law and wills and estate, or family law and corporate commercial. But as senior counsel, I'm there to guide and advise the junior lawyers. I love what I do. Whatever you do in life, that's one of the things I think will take you a far way. Enjoy what it is that you do. Not everyone likes the practice of law when you're entrenched in it, and it really becomes a battleground. But we can talk about that a bit more. But it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me as part of the panel. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Nidger. I actually have probably the exact opposite experience as Karen. I'm very envious of hers because I'm not at all a general practitioner. I've spent the last decade litigating medical negligence on behalf of plaintiffs. About a year ago, I diversified my practice. I was about to say a little bit, but actually kind of a lot, and started taking on mass tort litigation. So if some of you are one of you maybe has heard about the lawsuit on behalf of school boards across Ontario against Meta, Snapchat, and TikTok. That's me and my firm. And so it's been a very interesting year and a very interesting time to be A, diversifying, and B, taking on these types of systemic issues. So it's really a privilege, and I'm happy to speak to anybody about it if you're interested in either of those areas of law. I went to Osgoode for law school, and before that, I'm an Albertan at heart, and I'm from Edmonton. Went to U of A for undergrad, but now a decidedly Torontonian, unfortunately. Okay, I'll pass it on.
My name is Stacey Bailey, and I'm an associate at McCarthy Tatro. Funny enough, Sonia is one of my dearest friends. We actually worked together at Neinstein before I joined McCarthy Tatro. My path to becoming a lawyer was nonlinear. I was an assistant, and then I was a law clerk, and then I was licensed as a paralegal. And then eventually I went to law school, and I've now been called, and my practice is, well, it used to be plaintiff's medical malpractice like Sonia, and now I represent physicians in CMPA cases, so adversaries in court. I also have a corporate commercial litigation practice, which ranges from representing businesses to representing aviation companies, that's banking files, those kinds of matters. And I've only been practicing for a couple of years, but thanks to the group at Neinstein, I've been in the legal realm for a very long time, almost actually more than a decade at this point. That's a little bit about me. Oh, I should say I went to Osgoode. I think there's a lot of us that went to Osgoode, and I was born and raised in Toronto.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Ooh, sorry, I'm loud. I'm already loud, and this is making me louder. Which is good for lawyers, guys. Lawyers should be loud if you're gonna litigate in court. My name is Kieran Kaur, and I work at Epstein and Associates. I've been there for a couple of years now. My firm does everything you can think of: corporate, commercial, civil, family, criminal, everything, wills and estates, real estate. But I exclusively only practice family law. That is what I'm truly passionate about. So everything you can think of: divorce, custody, adoption, drama, all of that, I help my clients with. And we all know family law can be daunting. It can be very high pressure and very emotionally and mentally draining. But we'll obviously get into that discussion later in terms of how to handle all of that pressure. But I'm really passionate about what I do, and I love each and every one of my clients. Some, can get a little bit annoying, and they don't like to listen. But other than that, I'm very blessed to say that most of my clients are lovely people, and yeah, I enjoy what I do, and I'm excited to be here today.
Hi. Okay. Good evening. My name is Sharon Yabo, and I'm originally from Ghana, North Guyana. I went to school, University of Ghana, for my undergrad and law school, and then I came here and went to Osgood as well for my master's. So no left out of the Osgood train. Yes. So I practice now mainly management side labor and employment law. I used to, for 3 years, I was practicing mostly employee side doing human rights and, representing employees, but then I just shifted and moved to the bad side. But so far it's been a great experience. And yeah, we can talk more about both sides of the table, how to navigate, dealing with employees and as well as when you're advising employers. And I believe it to be a very great discussion. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, ladies. So there are the two G's at the end. I am Guyana and you're Ghana. Interesting. So here's how it's going to go. I would ask a question and just feel free if you would like to answer. You could pick up your mic and have a go. So the first question is, and these questions, by the way, came from students. If you could go back in time and give your undergrad self one piece of crucial advice, what would it be?
Okay, I'll start. We had the benefit of getting these questions beforehand. I wish I had more eloquent answers. But I think the one thing that comes to mind, which may seem very counterintuitive, warn you, is I actually would have told myself to just enjoy the present moment and not sit and try to plan the rest of my life, because very rarely does the rest of your life look according to your plans. And when you sit in the moment and accept what's happening around you and lean into it, which is another piece of advice related that I would have told myself, many amazing things can happen. One of my obsessions in life, which is kind of weird, is I love Tina Fey. Okay, and Stacey knows this and probably laughing at me inside. I love Tina Fey, and one of the reasons I love Tina Fey is she has an improv training background. Okay, and one of the things that she says all the time is the best improv training is the best life training, which is that you always say yes and. Okay, you never retreat from a skit or from whatever's going on in the training that day. You always answer and respond with yes and. So if you're kind of going one way with your skit and somebody else goes a completely different way, you don't try to go back to your way. You go yes and. And I believe that's one of the best ways to look at life and career training, really, and thinking about what's going to come next. Yes and. And I wish I had taken that advice, because I would have saved myself a lot of stress and time. And maybe you all agree somewhat or disagree, but certainly I think that is an interesting exercise to try out in your own lives, and really just lean into what's happening in the moment. Amazing things can happen when you're present.
That's a great answer. I guess my answer is similar in the sense of enjoy the moment. Enjoy where you're at right now. You're at university, and it's not easy, but you're where you should be, right? You will also come upon obstacles, things that you never dream of, but keep going, never quit. And that's something that I always told myself when I was at university. I went to Mac before I went on to Oz. And I remember one day, I'm Jamaican, and I felt like I can't do this. And I called my Auntie Cherry, and she knows that I like soup, red pea soup. And she made a pot of soup, and she had to talk with me, and she said, "You can do this, never quit." And that stuck with me, and that has served me well in this journey of life. There are twists and turns, ups and downs, things that you never dream of. But if you keep fighting, keep pushing ahead, things have a way of coming together. And you just have to recognize that. Things may not always go the way that you plan, but there's a way that things, I don't know if it's in the universe or, what you may call it, whatever force it is, but if you never quit, things have a way of coming together. So always remember that when you're going through rough times, I'm going to keep at it. I'm never going to quit. And you'll be pleasantly surprised, I would say. Okay.
I would kind of hop on that, but I'll make it a little bit different in the way that I would say my best advice would be the littlest things that don't seem that important to you right now because you're so focused on getting to an end goal will actually become the most important things about your life when you're there. So now that I am a lawyer, I spent so much time since high school just focusing on that's the goal. I need to become a lawyer. What steps do I need to take? What schools do I need to go to? What tests do I need to study for? What grades do I need? Do I need to go to the library? Do I need to do this? Make the time for things that are the smallest important thing. Go hang out with your friends because those are the friends that are going to clap for you when you graduate. Go to that party so that 10 years down the road, you can say, you know what? That was a great night. You're not going to remember every paper you wrote. You're going to remember those times as well. At the end of the day, a long, hard day at the office. I don't want to think about work. What am I going to do? Am I going to go to my Bollywood class because I love Bollywood? I love dancing. Am I going to just relieve my stress that way? Am I going to put on my favorite show? Am I going to watch Bridgerton? All that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that you're making time to keep your hobbies a part of your daily life. Don't get too caught up in the stress of school and where you're going to be. You'll get there. You'll definitely get there. I'm not saying it's not important. It definitely is, but don't let that become your entire personality. There's so much more to you that's of value. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good advice. And I hope that students are listening. And by the way, if you have questions, I would ask that you write them down or put them in your phone, because at the end of the discussion, we will open the floor for questions, okay? The next question, as a woman in law, how do you navigate any barriers you may or have come across?
I'll start with this one. I think as a woman in law, things are tough. And as a diverse woman in law, they are even tougher. I have navigated these complexities clumsily, right? And so I think this kind of ties into the last question a little bit about the advice I'd give my younger self. And it would be to tell myself that you belong in these spaces, because there are many people that will tell you that you don't, in their actions and what they say to you and how they treat you. And all of this becomes a tremendous barrier for diverse women in particular, Black women in particular in law. I think having a supportive network is crucial. I think that it is nearly impossible to navigate microaggressions and not so microaggressions in the legal profession, because they continue to exist. It is an imperfect system. It is an oppressive system. And that trickles into the way that lawyers are treated as well. And so I think one of the things that has helped me through my career is having people in my corner to advocate on behalf of myself when I couldn't, to believe in me, and to really, really be in my corner. So this is something I talk to pre-law students a lot about. And I think whether you are pre-law or whether you're a law student or whether you are a lawyer, the advice is the same. And it's to stand up for yourself but it's going to be challenging. So you want to make sure that you have a network around you that's going to be supportive towards you. And at this stage, you can already start developing that, right? So when you come to these events, this is great, right? You're already showing up, but there are 6 of us here who I am sure are prepared to mentor and to help in whatever way we can. So you start small and you continue to grow, because the challenges are vast and the climb is steep for women. So I think that that'd probably be my advice.
Thank you. Just give me 1 minute. I'd like to just welcome the latest member. And could you just tell us your name, please?
Hi, everyone. Apologies for my tardiness. My name is Moya Mole. I am a lawyer, but my area of practice is family, criminal, immigration, and real estate. I do a tiny bit of corporate law, but yeah. So pleasure to meet everyone. Pleasure to meet you, students, and pleasure to meet my friends here.
Thank you.
And it's so good to be here.
Okay. So can we continue? I think you were going to, yeah.
Thank you. Hello, can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. It's out for us. It doesn't sound like it, but anyways, so how I would advise you, and I'm just going to keep this very direct, work hard, prove it to them why you deserve to, like, we shouldn't have to prove it to anyone. We should already feel like we deserve to be there. I'm not saying that, don't think of it that way. But what I'm trying to say is, as a woman and as a woman of color, you have to work twice as hard, triple as hard to set you apart from everyone else. So there's days where, you know, especially in the beginning of your career, when you're really proving yourself, when everyone's trying to prove themselves, but you as someone with a background of being a female and then being a woman of color on top of it, you have to put the time, you have to put the energy, and you have to work hard, and your work will speak for itself. Be confident. My biggest advice, I would say, is fake it till you make it. Imposter syndrome is real. Imposter syndrome is very real with these type of careers, right? You may feel like, oh, do I deserve to be here? What am I doing here? I feel lost. I don't know what I'm doing. Trust me, everyone feels that way. Everyone does. And you have to pretend that, no, I'm the best. I'm amazing. Look at all this education I did. I need to show to these people that they're lucky to have me. And when you have that confidence, when you have that attitude, your work will speak for itself.
I really like that. Yep.
They're
lucky to have you.
For me, I think is my faith. I'm a strong believer in the Christian faith, in Jesus. Before I do anything, I pray, because for me, I would say that I've had more failures than successes. And I say that confidently. You're not going to win every case, but you go out and you show out. I mean, I've gone to court where I've been referred to as a client and I've won the case, right? That's how I prove to them that I deserve to be in that space, right? I have a big God that supports me. And I know that failure is part of my journey, right? I think a lot of people are afraid to fail, right? Especially being a lawyer and being in this position, you're almost demanded to be perfect. Everybody's looking for you to solve their answers. And sometimes I say, I'm not Jesus. You know, I'm not Jesus. I don't have your answer. But what I do have is the ability to zealously advocate for you, right? And that's what it's all about, right? You're not going to be perfect. You're going to fail, right? You might be like myself, where you're often referred to as a client, but as long as you have your head on high and you do what you're supposed to do, and you know that wherever space that you find yourself, you command that space. So for me, that's how I navigate those barriers.
Thank you.
If I could add.
So, sorry, just to tie this up. I'd like to say that for me, my advice to you would be never to take no as an answer. As a person of color, whether, you know, however you identify as, you'd receive more no's than yeses in your entire career. And if you allow those no's to keep, you know, playing in your mind, you always sell yourself short and you would never aspire to be more than what others have decided that you're worth. So never take no, dream of the big jobs, go for the big jobs, apply for them, whatever the dream is, always make sure that you're aiming high to attain those dreams, right? And you're working towards it, like they said. Never ever sell yourself short. Whatever you present yourself as is what people will buy. So if you limit yourself and believe, okay, you know, I'm not good enough and I can never work at any of the big 7 firms downtown on Bay Street or, you know, wherever it is. If that's your dream and you decide that you purpose in your mind that, okay, I'm not good enough to be at that level, you will never be good enough to be at that level because people will also see that in you, right? So always try to aspire for more and never take no for an answer. Always push for it and you would eventually get to that point.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If I could add to that, and I applaud all the points that are being made here, but I take a little different approach. Oh, I never look at myself and say, okay, I'm a woman or I'm a woman of color. I know that, and it's visible. My approach, and mostly everything that I do, is a positive approach. I don't look at the negative, and maybe I'm wearing blinders, but I don't look at the negatives when I walk into that courtroom. I know who I am, but I have to prepare. Prepare. I can't say it enough. My days generally start at 4 a.m., 5 o'clock a.m. if I'm lucky. And I put in a full day at the office. I'm there before, generally, most staff arrive, and I'm the last one to leave. When I leave, I go home, I have my family life. I'm in bed by around maybe 11, 12 o'clock. So I don't get a lot of sleep. I know that's not good. But when you prepare and you perform, they know who you are. And you get the respect of your peers and you get the respect of the judge. One of the best compliments is when you write a factum or a facta and the judge releases a decision and almost verbatim, the decision reflects your factum. You know you did your job. I did a case once and I went up against this lawyer. She's senior counsel as well. And she came over to me at the end of the case. I won the case and she said, my client says, that's a lawyer. And when you get that from your peers, that's a compliment, but you don't have to be disrespectful, right? But you have to have your case. I had a case this week, when it was a Friday, and I was up against a junior, and she was amazing. She had her points, and she had her case that she was relying on. And I had to rely on my experience to go to a case. It was a Zoom motion. So I could go on my computer very quickly. And there was a case that I recall that I was on, and the judge had mentioned the decision in the ruling, and I pulled for that case. But she was prepared, and so was I. The decision in the end was a divided success. But I can't say enough that you've got to prepare. Yes, be confident in who you are. But if you're confident, but you don't have your cases in line, if you don't have your arguments, if you don't know your facts, you're not going to get the respect that you deserve.
Oh, it is, I heard or I read somewhere that someone said, we teach people how to treat us. And I think this is what came out from the panel, or one of the items that came out from the panel tonight about how we deal with being women in law and women of color. Next question. What does mentorship play in it? What role, sorry, does mentorship play in advancing diversity in law? And how do you advise students and young professionals to seek out mentorship and support?
As a quite young lawyer myself, not too young, but I would definitely say mentorship plays in a really big role in the sense that you want to get some sort of inspiration to get further in your career. You want to see, how do I get there? And seeing someone that's, you know, maybe the same gender, maybe the same race, whatever it is, seeing them succeed gives you some hope that if they did it, I can do it too. Right? And how did they get there and what you can learn from them is very important. I was very fortunate, if I said unfortunate, sorry, very fortunate that the current firm that I'm with has a lot of females that I can look up to, not only females, diverse females. A lot of us have a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different religions. We take the time to learn from each other. And when there's a situation where, you know, I'm hearing a client, sell yourself to me, you know, like why should I hire you? Going back to my mentors in the room and being able to talk about that and validating my feelings brings a different type of strength to your practice. I definitely value that they are able to teach me that, but it also comes with being able to admit your weaknesses to a mentor. It's not always easy to do, right? You want to be perceived as the young hotshot lawyer who can do anything. You're not going to be that if you're too afraid to be honest and open with someone who has more experience than you. Take that for what it is and put yourself out there when you need the help.
Just for mentorship, my role in the office has grown over time. So as senior counsel, I do a lot of mentoring. But when I started my practice, the law firm that I articled with was Chapel Bushel Stewart. It's one of the oldest law firms in Toronto. And all the areas that I practice today, that was part of my articling. So all of the lawyers who headed up the different departments, I became friends with, because you work together. And like you, I didn't just start out as a lawyer. I went to McMaster. I got pregnant in my graduating year. My daughter now is like 30, 35, and 33, 35. And she's a lawyer as well. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. Do I really want to become a lawyer? So I got a job as a legal secretary in a law firm. And the lawyer that I was a secretary for, he said, why don't you become a lawyer? That was a validation for me. I said, okay, maybe I'm on the right path. And then after becoming a legal secretary, I worked with them for a year. I applied to law school, got into law school, and then I was looking for an articling, and I went back to them and they hired me. So I was their articling student. And then I was my principal lawyer. She's a judge on the Ontario Court of Appeal, Justice Bonato, Mary Lou Bonato. And she was one of my key mentors, but I reached out to her anytime I needed help. Don't be afraid to reach out. You don't know it all. I still don't know it all. I'm learning every single time I walk into that courtroom, I learn something. And so seek out a mentor. Rarely will someone turn you away, even judges. I had lunch with a judge a couple weeks ago, and just to talk to him about how things are and, you know, a different career path and things like that. But he was very helpful. He made time to talk to me and just give me this is what it's like, right? So don't be shy. Reach out to someone and ask, you know, can I meet with you for a few minutes? Or, you know, can we have a cup of coffee? Can we talk about the practice? What do you like about it? What you don't like about it? And I'm sure a lot of people won't turn you away. They'll make time for you.
So I have 3 sort of concrete suggestions always when students ask me this question. The first one picks up on what Karen just said, which is ask for what you want and always be specific. So if you are looking for a mentor to guide you generally on career related things, have questions prepared. When you reach out, I mean, you see we're all here on what's tonight? Monday night? Is it Monday? Yeah, Monday night. You know, and we're very happy to give our time. We're very happy to provide whatever insight you're looking for. But these questions are very helpful. It's, you know, ask for what you want. We're very willing to give it, but be specific. Have humility. And I think that is another life lesson, but this one Tina Fey did not teach me. Have humility. You know, that will serve you well in your life. It'll serve you well in law. As Karen just said, we don't have all the answers. You obviously right now in your career at, you know, just a budding stage, don't have all the answers, but have humility about what you're looking for, that there are things, you know, outside of what is in your line of your tunnel vision about your goals. There may be other things. There may be areas of law that you didn't know existed, like medical negligence. I had no idea, zero idea when I started that this was a viable career option, and it was never in my radar. You know, it's have humility. And then I think the last thing is know the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. Everybody needs a mentor, you need a sponsor even more in my world, at least. And the difference is that a mentor will provide you guidance, advice. You know, you have to be specific on what you're looking for, and they can be there for you. A sponsor will go above and beyond, will find you opportunities, help you find opportunities, connect you with the right people. That's a sponsor. And I think everybody needs a sponsor, or would be well served by finding a sponsor. Same principles apply. Be specific. You know, do your homework on who you're reaching out to. But I think those are really important principles.
Just want to add something because I think mentorship is really key in this profession. And the first thing I would say is look for mentors in unconventional places. They don't all have to be lawyers, right? So some of you know I'm actually married to Professor Bailey, who teaches in the criminology department. And a lot of my pre-law students come from him, right? So he talks to his students who's interested in becoming a lawyer. My wife is a lawyer and he sends them my way, right? And so he also provides mentorship. So I can champion those students. I can sponsor those students by connecting them with people at particular firms that they want to be connected with. And he provides mentorship one-on-one in person in a more intimate setting, like a school, right? And so they don't always have to be a lawyer. So look for mentorship in unconventional places. And one thing that has been important to me is I grew up in Rexdale. My family, my parents are first generation immigrants, and a lot of my upbringing was tumultuous. I didn't know any lawyers growing up, not one. The only lawyers I knew were the ones representing my family members in criminal proceedings. That's it. And so I didn't have mentorship at all, which is why I'm very passionate about giving my time to students. And what's become important to me now as I'm a lawyer is connecting with mentors who are safe spaces to me. And what I mean by that is diverse women who understand some of the things that I've encountered, some of my fears in talking to my contemporaries and partners and adversaries that are white males. The legal field is still dominated by white males who don't understand oftentimes our struggles, right? And so that would be probably the two things that I would say is look for mentors in unconventional places and look for mentors that share your story, that understand what it's like growing up in these neighborhoods, if that's your story, or if not, find someone who kind of aligns with your values or your spirituality. Those things are very important, right? And they're safe spaces and key to having a successful career, in my opinion.
Thank you. I just want to say that to begin the journey, you may want to think about signing up for the job shadow program in the careers with the Career Center, because that's a way of getting yourself out there and sort of meeting people and being able to connect and start the journey of mentorship. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
They want to come and shadow, or you just even can go to the courthouse. A lot of the hearings are open court. It's not a child protection proceedings, that's closed court. It's open court. You can just go and sit down and observe. And you can let them know I'm a law student or I'm a student who's aspiring to become a lawyer, and the judges will allow you, right? So
yeah, that's a good idea.
Also, I just wanted to add to that, like not all mentors or potential mentors will be available, right? And just knowing, because some of them are just occupied, right? But just knowing how to navigate. Like for me personally, when I went to law school, I feel like law school gives you the tools to succeed, but does not give you the real life experience. Mentorship is particularly important when you're a private practice. I remember going into private practice, someone comes in and says, I need an affidavit. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Law school didn't teach me how to draft that, right? Like, how am I gonna, draft an affidavit? Like, I don't remember how to do that. And you're looking at LexisNexis, but then you kind of forgot because you've done the barrister's and solicitor exam, and that's all you can think about. And now you don't remember, right? That's when mentorship comes in play. That's where I was able to call somebody who was already in the field that I was aspiring to be and say, hey, could you please tell me how to get an affidavit? Like, what do I need to do? And he's like, oh, there's a template. I'm like, can you pass it on to me? And literally, that's how I got it. And now I could draft affidavits, right? It's mentorship is key, right? And not taking them personal when they're busy, right? It's okay. You'll find someone that is, I'm a strong believer that the right person will be connected to you and will cause you to grow, right? If this person is unavailable, that person's not for you. Find somebody else who's for you and who aligns with your purpose and your destiny. Find that person and push forth, right? Mentorship is key in this space. Networking is key in this space. I can't emphasize that enough.
Thank you very much. And we do offer a number of networking opportunities also that students can take advantage of. Okay, next question. As the journey to success is rarely linear, and some of you have talked about this, can you share a failure or setback that in hindsight was crucial to your growth and success?
I am more than happy to do that because I told you guys I failed more than I succeeded. I'm going to be transparent, starting from the LSAT right there. LSAT failed, right? I can't tell you how much failures I had in my lifetime, but that's what prepared me for this space, right? Solicitor exam, I actually gave birth writing the solicitor. Like I went into labor, right? Yeah. I went into labor, I wrote it in 9 months, and I remember contractions started. And they're like, oh, do you want to go? I'm like, no, let me finish. I'm studying too hard. Let me finish. I didn't get there. Like I thought that somehow miraculously my tenacity would reflect, but I failed again. And I had one more chance, right? But this time I just gave birth. I was going through, by the way, I'm not recommending this, right? This is by far, I'm not recommending this. I'm just trying to show you that when you're determined up here in your mind to achieve something, nothing stops you. And not even a baby was willing to stop me because I failed so many times with the LSAT that I was determined to get to my goal. Like I would write on a test, Moya's going to be a lawyer. And I know my university professor is like, what's she talking about? You're in criminology, you're talking about lawyer. Like, but I saw it. You have to see your dreams. If you can't see it here, then I'm sorry. I'm not saying that you'll know exactly which area of law you want to like practice, because I didn't, but you have to envision yourself there. Like you have to wear that suit and you're not going nowhere. But you're saying, I am seeing myself. That self-affirmation is key, right? So I am telling you, sitting here saying that I failed more than succeeded, right from the initial stage up until barristers and solicitor and giving birth and all of that. I gave birth and I was right back studying again, right? Nothing was gonna stop me. And if you have that mentality, there's no hill too high for you to climb.
Thank you. Thank you.
So in terms of one of my major failures was that I actually dropped out of my undergraduate degree. So I went to University of Waterloo and my major was legal studies. After that, I tacked on doing a minor of women's studies, but I dropped out. I stopped going to classes. I stopped caring. My mental health was not good. I couldn't deal with the pressure. I was living away from home. I also grew up in a very tumultuous, toxic household, which is why I do think I became a family law lawyer. But I dropped out. And I was someone that always wanted to be a lawyer since I was the age of 12. I did my first moot trial. I thought it was amazing. And I said, I'm going to do this. My parents are like, we don't have money. We don't know anyone that's done this. Why do you want to do this? Right. So for me, I thought that it was over. I thought my life was over. What am I going to do now? Right. But what got me back was my family. So luckily, I had a very good role model and a mother who very much was very empowered with education, and she wanted to empower me. She didn't give up on me. And she said, listen, I know this is a setback. We're not upset with you. We're going to give you the resources you need to feel like you can continue. I'm here to support you. And because of that family support, friend support, I mean, it's shameful to say, oh yeah, I just dropped out because I couldn't deal with the pressure. It happens more than you actually think, right? So because I dropped out, that gave me the tenacity to push forward and to say, no, you know what? I got this. I'm coming back. I'm coming back bigger and better than ever. I'm going to do it right. And then I never stopped, right? So sometimes things happen in life. right? It's not all about school. Things happen around you. But as long as you can get back up and as long as you have a good support system, again, I was very blessed with that I had that. I mean, now I look at that time and sometimes I even forget that happened because I looked at all of my success and my journey after, right? So, yeah.
So for me, like I mentioned earlier, I went to school in Ghana, and coming to Canada, furthering my education here wasn't in the sphere of things. I was like, no, just stay in Ghana, do my thing, become a lawyer. And then, so I don't know how it's here, but in Ghana, when you go, you do your LLB, we call it the LLB. You have to write an exam to go to another school, and that's where you write the bar exam. And I wrote the exam, and I didn't pass. And I was very upset because my study group, everyone passed but me. And so I cried, and my dad was like, okay, go to Canada, go do this. I was like, oh, I don't know anyone there. It's like, you go. So I came, and I had to work and study to write the NCAs and go through the whole process to write the bar exam. And again, time after time, because I was working, I wasn't having enough time to study. And then I'd fail some of the courses and I'd be very down and very, sad. And my sister was like, no, you can do it. And, just like having the support and the supportive network to help you out. Then finally during COVID, so this took me like a journey that should have taken me like a year or so, took me like 5 years to complete, right? And I felt so bad and so ashamed because all my friends back home were all lawyers practicing, and Sharon, the one that was supposedly smart, was still not a lawyer after 5 years. But I took it in stride because I knew I had a purpose and I knew what I wanted, right? So COVID happens, I write the barristers, I believe, and I passed. Then COVID, so everything was shut down. And then I attempted to write the solicitors without studying for it. Big mistake. I didn't pass, I failed, as expected. And I was very sad again. Then 2021, while studying for my master's, I registered for the solicitors. And by some stroke of luck, I passed. And I was very excited. After that, I tried to look for a job. And that became another hurdle. I looked for mentors, I looked for everything, and I couldn't find a placement. Then one day, whilst on LinkedIn, I find this guy, right? And then I'm like, okay, let me try it out. So I asked him for a job, even though he wasn't hiring, and he hired me. And I started working for him, and we're working. Then he asked me to do a memo. And it was a memo on jurisdiction. It was a human rights application. And he asked me to do the memo, and I was like, okay. So I draft the memo. And out of that memo comes this whole battle on jurisdiction of whether or not unionized employees should be allowed to bring human rights complaints before the tribunal. And it becomes a thing. And so we start this, going through the whole application process, and in the end, we won. And I remember the day the decision came through, I was at Square One, H&M, and my boss sends me the decision. I'm like, oh my goodness, we won. And I'm screaming and jumping in Square One. I'm like, what's wrong with this girl? But no one knew the struggles and the turmoil I had to pass through, the failures I had to go through for that one moment. So looking back, all those times I didn't do all as I thought I would do, when I failed, when I struggled, when I did all of that, it was for that one particular moment, for everything to align, for me to be part of that precedent-setting decision in Ontario. And so, like they have also shared, certain times you'd have a lot of failures that may want to shake your faith, and it may make you question even if you want to do this. Because I've been there. I've questioned myself whether or not I want to be a lawyer, whether or not I should carry on. And I've come very close to giving up. But you do not let your failures or your setbacks define you. And you have to keep pushing forward and keep striving, because in the end, I'm also a believer in God, and I'm a Christian. And I believe that God has a purpose for every single one of us. And sometimes, if let's say I had passed, right? and I had, become a lawyer in Ghana, I wouldn't have been able to help people, set this precedent, life-changing decision, which allows employees, unionized employees, to go before the Human Rights Tribunal and try to fight for what's fair and what's due them. You know what I mean? So sometimes things happen. Some failures may actually happen to shape your life and to, bring a purpose to your life. So never take a failure as something that's like, it's shattering and your world has ended. No, just move on from the dust of, and just fight and just keep moving. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll have one more question and then I'll open the floor for questions from the audience. And it's about money. Law school is expensive. And so what I would like to ask is, what advice would you give to students on financing their education wisely, avoiding common financial mistakes, as a new lawyer? So how would you help them, or how would you advise them to begin to take that journey from a financial perspective, from a finance perspective?
Okay. So I had a very different experience where, because I was from Alberta, I qualified for Alberta loans, student loans, which everybody earmuffs, cover 100% of your tuition interest-free. And I can't remember what the payback period was, but the interest didn't start accumulating upon graduation. So I was very lucky, like one of the rare times that you're happy to be an Albertan. I was very happy to be an Albertan. One of the pitfalls of my peers who didn't have that kind of support and had to rely on OSAP, which it's OSAP, right? It's called OSAP, which is very different than Alberta, is the schools often pre-approve you or like allow you a line of credit, like through an institution. So there's a preferred institution that allows you to go and apply. And then that line of credit becomes like your debit card, and that's what you use to try to get by. And that can be really sticky and difficult because, it's expensive. Law school, as we just said, law school is very expensive. I also worked during law school, which was an unpopular thing amongst my peers, but I've had a job every day since I was 14. So it was not a thing to me. I worked and that helped. And I worked in the summers. I didn't worry too much. Like people get really hung up on law jobs throughout every summer. So that kind of pressure to just do something legally related, doesn't matter what it is, even if you're not paid, can be really hard and can put people back quite significantly financially. So I would say don't fall into that trap. It's okay to have like a non-law job, especially in first year. And I would say those are the two like big common pitfalls that certainly my peers and me to a certain extent, of course, kind of fall into. So just, be okay. Like it's fine. It's fine to hold a job if you need to. You're not going to fail out of law school because you're not spending those 15 hours a week or whatever it is studying. Like it's going to be fine. I actually think it's really good training to be, a fully rounded person and have different demands on your time. And then, just kind of being okay with debt for a little while is also really important. And I know it freaks a lot of people out. I mean, it freaks me out too, but kind of accepting that that's life for a little bit and just working really hard when you're out to get yourself out, I think is important, but just like feeling okay about it and not freaking out.
Just to add to that, I'm from a family of very modest means. I'm the first lawyer in the family, but not the only lawyer now. When I started out, student loans, OSAP, and I wasn't ashamed to take the OSAP loan, and part of it was a grant. I also got bursaries. With regards to the loan, in my first year of practice, I earned enough money that I could repay my student loan. the first year. So when individuals are saying you're going to be saddled with the loan for years and years, not necessarily. I had a friend though who knew more about the system than I. She got the OSAP loans but the government had a loan forgiveness program. And I didn't know about that. But she was the benefactor of that, and good for her. But I repaid my loan and carried on. When you're in private practice, don't be afraid to price yourself, right? You don't have to go really low down on the barrel, bottom of the barrel. Know your worth, and people pay for your worth. They pay you a retainer that's like a deposit, and you price yourself. You keep dockets, very good dockets, so you can show your time, how you spend your time on their file and providing a service. And don't be afraid to collect for the services that you've provided. I know some lawyers, they're going to court and they haven't secured their retainer. Yes, it's a service we're providing, but it's also a business, and it's your livelihood and the livelihood for your family. So pricing is important when you're in a service business, as this is.
Yeah, I just want to chime in on that. Let me tell you, for me, I like to personalize things. I feel like the system is meant to keep you in debt. That's how the system is structured. That's just what it is. The way the system is structured is for you to be in debt. And for me, being the first lawyer in my family, thank God for my husband and my family, they did do their best, but for me, it wasn't enough, because people like me I think that it's an unspoken rule. Like, you're not meant to be here, so we're going to hike up the prices. LSAT courses, I don't know how much it is now, because they kept charging me. At one point I was tired, right? So then I finished that, and then I have to pay for law school, right? At that time, Scotia was doing like a professional line of credit. And now, with the expectation is they'll freeze it for 1 year and then double the price on you after you graduate, because they're anticipating that as a lawyer, you should have a good retainer, right? So, I mean, yes, don't be scared of debt. The system is meant to keep you in debt, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? There is a light. You'll come out of it, but it is expensive. That's just the reality of it. That's a system we live in, and your goal should be that you are, whatever money you earn, it should be able to purchase some sort of asset to get you out of debt. If you have that mentality, you'll be okay. If you get $10, take $9 and invest it in an asset or in something that can produce $20, and only spend that $20, right? And let that $10 work for you, okay? You're gonna be, the prayer is that we all get out of debt, but let me tell you, it's not easy. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's easy, but there's systems in place that can get you out of that. Think about owning properties. Think about owning assets. Think about investing. Think about not just taking the money and buying Louis Vuitton, right? To use that money to create wealth for yourself and your family.
Thank you very much. Ladies, I really would like to say thank you for your time and for the valuable information that you have offered us.
Permit me to yap a little bit. I think that they dropped some very critical nuggets that we should take with us. First of all, I do want to apologize for the noise that we were hearing. The baptism club is well baptizing, and so it's a big celebration upstairs, but I love that one of the panelists actually emphasized being loud, and we got to see a practical example of that. So thank you all for just increasing your volume so that the audience could hear. Second of all, I love being a woman. That was amazing, and I think being in rooms like this makes me feel so empowered, and I'm sure likewise. To, especially hearing that after your failure, your mom was the person that came through for you. It's so important that women support each other. And it's so wonderful to be in a space like this where I guess we're promoting that. Yeah, and yes, our allies, go allies. Yes, absolutely. And as we go into final season, I just want to remind everyone, as our panelists said, that it's important to enjoy the present moment, to keep going, to don't look at the negatives. And I have this quote that is, the difference between you and the person you want to be is knowledge. And sometimes it's not necessarily knowing about your LSAT or knowing the law, but it's also knowing people and knowing and having connections. And so I would say, just keep that in mind as we go into final season, that all you have to do is prepare. And when all else fails, grab some red pea soup and watch some Bridgerton. So thank you, panelists, for that insight. Up next, I am so happy to welcome our keynote speaker, Miss Shanice Prendergast. Yes, she is the Assistant Director of Professional Resources and she works on the Toronto student programs. In this role, she leads the recruitment, training, coaching, and ongoing professional development of the summer and articling students in her Toronto office. Please welcome everybody, Miss Shanice Prendergast.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I just want to thank the organizers of this wonderful event for inviting me to speak tonight. It's truly an honor to be here with you today. Before I begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Shanice Prendergast, and I am the Assistant Director of Professional Resources at Castles, Brock & Blackwell. That is a full-service business law firm located downtown Toronto. In this role, I oversee the recruitment, the training, coaching, development of all of our summer students and articling students, basically helping to shape the next generation of our future lawyers. So I want to share my journey a little bit with you today. When I reflect on my journey through law school, into practice, and now into legal recruitment and professional development, I realized that my story is not just about becoming a lawyer. It's about breaking barriers, finding my voice, and creating space for others to do the same. Like many of you here today, my journey did not begin with a clear path to law. In fact, if you had told me years ago that I would be here today, I'd be standing here as a legal professional, I probably wouldn't believe you. I was born in Jamaica and immigrated to Canada when I was 5 years old. My family came here like so many other immigrant families with hopes for a better future, but we didn't have a roadmap to navigating this new world. I grew up understanding that I would have to work twice as hard, as has been said on the panel, push past obstacles and create my own opportunities. And that's exactly what I tried to do. So one of my first passions was track and field. Running became my foundation, not just as a sport, but a mindset. The discipline, the endurance, the ability to get back up after a fall, push through discomfort. These were lessons that carried me far beyond the track. They earned me a scholarship to Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, where I competed as a 400-meter and 800-meter runner while I completed my undergraduate degree. Balancing my athletic commitments and academics was not an easy feat, but I was determined to succeed in both. I made the dean's list, I graduated with the highest honors, and I proved to myself that I can thrive in high-pressure environments. But while my time as an athlete was significant, I knew that the ultimate race, the one that would really define my career, was just beginning. That's when I had my eyes set on law school. Law school was an entirely new playing field for me. I entered Osgoode Hall Law School, another Osgoode alum, proud Osgoode alum. I entered Osgoode Law School as the first in my family to become a lawyer with no built-in network to rely on. I didn't have relatives who were partners in a big law firm. I didn't have a roadmap for what a legal career should look like. But what I did have is determination to make space for myself and others who, like me, didn't always see themselves represented in the legal profession. That's why I joined the Black Law Students Association at Osgoode. And not just as a member, I took on many leadership positions. And by my third year in law school, I became the president because I understood that representation matters. I knew that we needed community, and I was committed to making sure that anyone else who looked like me did not feel like they were alone in this space. But the reality is, while student organizations and peer support are critical, they don't eliminate the systemic barriers in our profession. We still walk into rooms where we are the only one. We still face unspoken assumptions about our capabilities. We still have to navigate systems that wasn't necessarily built with us in mind. For me, one of the hardest lessons early in my career was realizing that talent and hard work, while necessary, is not always enough. The legal profession is relationship driven. I'm really glad that that was really kind of, driven home on the panel, because it really is relationship driven. Success isn't just about knowing the law, it's about who knows you, who advocates for you, who opens doors for you when you're not in the room. That's where mentorship became really crucial in my journey. I was fortunate enough to have mentors who guided me through my summer and articling experiences, helping me to develop the skills and confidence to thrive in a high performance environment. I later practiced employment law and workplace investigations, a field where I firsthand saw the importance of strong workplace policies, fair hiring practices, and inclusive leadership. But as I progressed, I realized that my passion wasn't just practicing law. It was shaping the future of the legal profession itself. And I wanted to be the person who helps students and young lawyers navigate their careers. I wanted to be the person who created pathways for the underrepresented talent and the person who ensured that law firms were not just for hiring diversity, but also fostering real inclusion. That realization led me to transition into the legal recruitment area and EDI work. And today, as the Assistant Director of Professional Resources at Castles, I have the privilege of not only hiring and developing the next generation of lawyers, but also challenging firms to think critically about what real progress looks like. And while we have seen progress in diversity and inclusion, we have to acknowledge that change is slow. The numbers are shifting, but systemic barriers remain. Representation is increasing, but retention and advancement remain challenges. Firms are investing in diversity initiatives, but real inclusion requires more than just policies. It requires a shift in culture. So what does that mean for you? It means that as aspiring legal professionals, you have a role to play. Whether you are a student, a young lawyer, or an industry leader, you have the power to push for change. You have the ability to challenge outdated norms, to demand accountability, and to ensure that diversity and inclusion are not just buzzwords, but lived experiences in this profession. So as you navigate your undergraduate degrees, your own legal careers, if you choose to pursue law, I want to leave you with 3 key lessons that have shaped my journey. So the first one is own your story. Your background, your challenges, and your unique perspectives are not weaknesses, they're your strengths. Don't let imposter syndrome make you feel that you don't belong. You do. Own your experiences and use them to your advantage. The second lesson is build authentic relationships. Success isn't just about legal skills, it's about people. Find mentors, connect with peers, and build a network that supports you. And when you reach a place where you can help others, lift as you climb. The third and final lesson is keep pushing forward even when the path isn't clear. The legal profession is changing, but it won't change fast enough unless we push for it. Be the advocate, the leader, the voice that challenges the status quo. Don't wait for permission to take up space, just take it. I started this speech by talking about running the race, and the truth is I'm still running my race. And so are you. There will be hurdles, there will be moments that you feel like stopping, but I promise you this, if you keep going, if you stay committed, if you surround yourself with people who support you, there's nothing in this profession that you cannot achieve. So to every aspiring lawyer in this room, your future is yours to shape. Run your race with purpose, run it with resilience, and most importantly, never stop running. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Prendergast, for those very powerful words of wisdom. I mean, I hate running, but I'm inspired. I'm gonna get those trainers tonight. But on a more serious note, oh, apologies. Oh, yes, please. Sorry. On a more serious note, yeah, it's just, can we just give a round of applause for all of our speakers tonight? As we bring this incredible discussion to a close, I just want to take a minute to reflect on the wisdom, resilience, and inspiration that has been shared in this room today. We've heard powerful insights from women who have not only navigated the legal field, but have also challenged its boundaries, redefined leadership, and paved the way for those who come after them. So thank you for your honesty, your guidance, and for showing us what's possible for women in our field. To our audience, whether you are at the beginning of your legal journey or still figuring out your next steps, know that you do belong in these spaces. Your voice matters and your perspective is needed. Let tonight serve as a call to action to, like she said, start running. Let's continue supporting one another, breaking barriers, and ensuring that the next generation of women in law is stronger, bolder, louder, and more fearless than ever. Thank you all for being here. And I just kind of want to touch on some of the things that were said as well. As you got into the world, prove to them why you deserve to be in the space and know that you do because you belong there. Be confident, aspire to be more than what others have decided that you are worth, and do not be afraid to fail. Another thing they said is that life is not going to go according to plan. I say this to a room of pre-law students who have their Excel trackers for their grades, and they're like, I'm going to get this GPA and I'm going to go to this specific school in this state and I'm going to do this. And as we say in Nige, it goes to shock you. Like, some things are not going to work out the way that you want it to, and some surprises are going to be pleasant and some not so much. But as you go into final season, at least you can be rest assured that you will not go into labor in the middle of your exam. So yeah, enjoy the present moment. This present moment is brought to you by Black Future Lawyers in collaboration with the Career Center. And we just want to give a round of applause to the Career Center for all of their support. I also want to say the most massive thank you to our collaborating clubs. I want to say the most massive thank you to Philip as he rounds up his position as VP Equity at UTMSU. His impact has been felt in the community, and I just think we should say a massive thank you to him for supporting this event. He really is our champion and our advocate, and we've been so lucky to have him this year. And I want to thank Efe, who single-handedly brought this event together. With our team, but for the most part, she really took the lead on this. She had a vision and she executed it and she kept running. And we're so lucky to have her. She rounds up her tenure at BFL UTM. She's going to be so missed. Our president, though, got announced today, so I'm going to take over. Thank you. So we're so excited to, I guess, continue with the legacy that FA has left us. And now who's hungry? Don't lie. Okay, I'm gonna give it to FA to say her closing remarks.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming, and thank you so much, panelists, as well, for everything that you shared. We're so grateful that you guys were able to join us today. We do have food prepared, and on your way back from the table, we encourage you to take a survey, give us some feedback on everything that you loved, everything you didn't love, so that we can make events like this better for you next year with the incoming president and the incoming team. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kristen, who's not here. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Dia, for finding all of these panelists. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, that's it. Okay, I'll stop talking now. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Our panels are still here and they want to network and talk to you. Again, mentorship has been a big thing that we've spoke about today. So please use this time and connect with them on LinkedIn, connect with your peers as well. We want you to have these networks and these mentorship opportunities so that you guys can thrive in your careers. So that's all I have to say, sorry.
Panelists are gonna